With rants and raves, you'll be okay. And today is your lucky day. It is rants and raves with Gary K.
Hey everyone, this is Gary K, and I'm joined with an old friend, Alan Braun, and today happens to be his birthday. Happy birthday, Alan. How are you doing?
Thank you, buddy. Well, we're doing great. And before we start, let me wish everybody a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and basically just happy if you get some time, well-deserved time off. So let's all have a great holiday season, no matter which perspective. Let's just be thankful for what we've got. And we're certainly thankful for all the good work that rAVe does. So good to talk to you, Gary.
It's great to talk to you, Alan. You and I have known each other now for over 30 years, and your latest incarnation of your life has been for a while, probably 20 years. You've been doing Braun Consulting, right? Is that about right?
Yeah, we're in our 20th year, and we're almost what we might call a purple squirrel, where we offer outsourced services and go to market. We do research and we do training program. We don't sell anything other than knowledge. And as you know, my background is in education, and you've got a whole series of educational traits in your background as well. So you and I are both educators, and Braun Consulting has basically been an education-based, outsourced services-based company for 20 years.
Yeah, and of course, many people know. It's interesting. There's probably a whole set of people there that know your son better than you, which is weird because you kind of have been an industry. You're not just an industry pioneer. You're an icon in the industry. Everyone who's been in this industry for more than 10, 15 years knows you. But your son has done a phenomenal job. Jonathan's done a phenomenal job being the face of Braun Consulting for a lot of this stuff. But I read an article that you wrote that's published in Commercial Integrator. It's all about sort of like the new sales process, and so the way that we have to think about sales differently. And when I ran sales at Extron, it was all based on relationships. Like, we had relationships with people, and they would buy from us because we had relationships and they trusted us. But your synopsis and date, and you found a bunch of data that backs this up from 3 or 4 sources, including McKinsey, Gartner, and HubSpot, among others, and Harvard Business, the Harvard Business Review as well, that people are coming to the table. The customers are coming to the table already knowledgeable about what they want to buy. And that kind of changes the dynamic of what a salesperson does. Can you kind of talk about that for a second? Because I think this is enlightening information.
I hate to date myself, and I'm sorry, Gary, you have more hair and your hair isn't as gray as mine, but I'm going to date both of us. And yes, we've known each other for over 30 years. And yes, Jonathan Braun used to be my son, and now I'm known as his father. So it's kind of an evolutionary situation. This whole thing is fascinating. You and I have talked offline about this a couple of times. Well, in fact, more than a couple of times about, everybody talks about the good old days. Well, in the quote unquote good old days, it was, we sold Ooh Shiny. It was Infocom was Ooh Shiny, and NAB was Ooh Shiny, and CES was Ooh Shiny. And every year we would have, and you and I were both involved in the famous Infocom shootout and all of these kind of things, and it was all Ooh Shiny and new products and disruptive products and all that sort of thing. And so basically the products would sell themselves. I mean, in the early days, even before you were involved with Extron, Andrew Edwards, the founder of the company, he would go in and he would show an RGB 101 interface. And all of a sudden we would have customers that go, oh my goodness, I can see a computer screen, a big, huge computer screen via a projector on screen, and they would buy the product. And then obviously relationships have always, blended into it. But here's the conundrum. The conundrum is in the early days, and basically up until about 10 years ago, and I think if you really give it some thought, you'll probably agree with me. Up until about 10 years ago, it was we had what I call a reliance factor, and part of the article I just wrote for Commercial Integrator is the reliance factor meant that an integrator, whether it's the SCN Top 50 or it's mom and pop in East Buggy Whip, Nebraska, It was the reliance factor. We relied on, the Gary K salesperson or whoever the salesperson was to come in. You and I would go to Infocom. We'd carry an extra piece of luggage to take all the literature with us. And then we take it back home to wherever our home base was. We would separate it out for all of our salespeople. They would take the literature and go in and talk to the customer. And the customer relied on us for information to help them make a decision. Well, fast forward, buddy, as you well know, this is the day and age. I mean, rAVe wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the evolution that we're experiencing. So this is not negative. This is positive. So today, it's a new universe in sales. So no longer when you go into a customer, and as you know, the research shows us that depending on who you believe, it's as little as 70 and it's almost 80% of customers make a buying decision before or even instead of a rep getting involved. So that was kind of the catalyst that created this passion in my mind that, man, I got to write about this because, it's like the sales course that we just did for Avixa, sales new role and the importance of you. We need salespeople more than ever before, but we need them in a different way. And that's what
that begs the question, Alan. What does a salesperson do now if the clients are coming to them already done the research and already know what they want to buy? Because obviously there's sometimes the client's wrong in what they want to buy. And also I think if I'm a salesperson, I'm a young person coming in the industry, I don't want to be an order taker. That's boring.
Well, that's probably the best question you humanly possibly could have asked. Okay, so given the fact that we're not changing AI, given the fact that we're not going to change the 70 to 75, 80% who are going to do their research, we're not going to change the fact that they're going to know more. So what do? Well, the answer is actually a good answer, but it's a good answer and it's a specific answer. In fact, I'm in the process and I'm thinking very seriously of writing this for you all. It's what do you do in light of this? And here's the answer. The answer is you add value. And you add value, and the value boils down to a simple thing. And you'll like this because of your days with Extron and the days doing all the interviews and everything that you and Steph and all the folks at rAVe have done over the last few years. It boils down to a simple thing. If I'm a customer, tell me something that I didn't know, and most importantly, tell me something that I can't easily find out on my own. And then we employ what we teach as the world's fastest sales training program. You're only going to make a sale one of three ways: solve a problem, improve a condition, or give me a capability that I can utilize that I don't currently have. If you don't meet the three criteria, you're out of luck. So it's problem solving. So now salespeople are no longer Gary K schlepping Extron, or Alan Braun schlepping Hughes JVC. There's a name out of our history, right, Gary? It's no longer.
I don't think that schlepped. I think that was trucked.
That was trucked. Yeah, it was a pretty big project. That's for sure, buddy. At least you got to sell little interfaces. But no, It's no longer about that. You're going to walk in and we live in a day and age of parity and commodity, and a 55-inch 4K is a 55-inch 4K signal distribution. So now people say we're in a solutions business. We're not. What we're going to add, the value we're going to add is we are going to become consultants, and that's a good word, not a bad word. We're going to become individual consultants for our clients. We are going to be problem solvers, problem identifiers, problem discussers. And then this great big panoply of things that we look at so well at Infocom you're very connected with the Exertus Almo people and the E4, which happens to be my favorite regional sales get-togethers because it's small and intimate. You can actually talk to somebody. So it's all these tools. We still need them, and you still have the requirement as a salesperson of knowing the product, but now we become a consultant. We become problems identifiers, problem solvers. That's the value. And it takes work to do that.
And I feel like now more than ever, the sales teams need to be consultants of all things tech, not just AV, not just UC and digital signage, but really kind of like they need to know a little bit about everything, like IT even, and which I think is a little obvious because we connect everything to a network, but they also need to know a little bit about the user experience and sort of how that's going to work within the range of people using a room, for example. Whereas before we would we would design the user experience and say, this is the way you have to use it based on our user experience design, rather than letting them formulate their own user experience, especially with AI, because I see AI as like, hey, let's imagine you build an auditorium. Some people are going to want to walk in the auditorium and say, hey, this is Gary, start working. Other people are going to want to come in and press a button. And then there's a third set of people that want to bring their own stuff, but all of them have to use that auditorium. So that level of automation is a different level of sales, right? It's a tech.
The toughest thing, as you know, I'm a prolific writer. I write thousands of articles, and I've trained over 40,000 people in the AV industry over 4 decades. You don't know this, but I don't think you understand how smart what you just said is and how insightful. So here's my deal. So everybody listening to this podcast, stay tuned. I'm going to make a commitment to my friend Gary. I'm going to write my next article on just exactly what you said, because I religiously believe that, you know, you can have certifications, you can have all kinds of different alphabet soup behind your name. But ultimately speaking, if you don't know something beyond the technology you're selling, if you don't know the culture, the business climate, if you don't know how to create the experience, not in Gary's way or Alan's way, but if you don't know how to create the experience in the customer's way, and maybe that experience needs to be expanded upon. So stay tuned. I don't know what our title's going to be, Gary, but I will have an article to you within 30 days on that idea, because that is a brilliant idea.
Yeah, and I think that it's interesting because McKinsey, one of the researchers that you cite in your article in Commercial Integrator, and I'll link that article here if you're watching this video cast, you can go read that article. They actually created something about 13 years ago called the Consumer Decision Process Map.
Yes, they did.
And I think that our industry needs to take a look at that. Although that was designed for a totally different industry, more the sort of traditional marketing advertising industry. It makes a lot of sense.
We've evolved into our industry now. Exactly. Is where they were 13 years ago with their thought leadership. We're too mired down in our comfort of speeds and feeds, and 4K resolution versus 8K resolution versus 1,000 lumens versus 10,000 lumens. We're too mired down into our speeds and feeds. We have to get to exactly what you just said, Gary. We got to get into it, and it's the experience. And it's not just the AV experience, as you rightfully pointed out. So the heart of the article that you and I are kind of co-creating in real time here, the heart of the article is going to be, you're going to have to get out of your AV cocoon, your AV column, if you will, and you have to take a look at business writ large and that whole business experience. And then how does AV, how does digital signage, how do the technologies that we sell relate to that overall experience? That's where we need to go.
And that may even mean not selling anything. Like I look at that as exactly, is that you come in and say, actually, you have everything you need. What we need to do is look at the process that you're using and the workflow, and maybe edit that a little bit to make you more efficient.
Invest in the customer, invest in being the advisor, invest in that. And it's not build it and they will come. It's sales and they will come. But it's going to take an investment. It's going to take an investment on all of the people who are viewing this podcast. It's going to take an investment in them. Yes. Do I want them to get CTS certified? You bet I do, because that's part of what makes you special. Do I want them DSCE certified in digital signage? You bet. Make some certified, a special MSCE certified, whatever it might be.
Well, then, Alan, let me ask you this. What's the role of a consultant? Are they going away?
Oh, no, because a consultant is going to actually be a true design consultant, which means that I'm going to hire you for a specific project. And the design consultant, hopefully, at least theoretically, is vendor neutral, and it's an individual project. What you and I are actually talking about is an ongoing relationship with the customer. We're talking about becoming part of the business practices and the business kind of soul of a company. We don't want you as a one-time customer, one-time design. We want to be that go-to source of not information that you can find out online through AI. We want to be that source of good thinking, Let's throw it against a wall. Let us be a foil when it's necessary. Let us be a supporter when it's necessary. Let us help you make those good business decisions. That's what's going to feed the AV industry as I go into whatever future life I have in heaven, hopefully, and you go into losing more hair and getting gray.
Well, it is interesting, the perspective here, and I do think that everything is changing, and I think that we're going to have to. It's like it's not even consultative selling, really. I think in a way, it's more of like becoming a partner with the organization, and in fact, I think this has already kind of happened in different markets. Like, for example, when I was a kid, news was fact-based reporting. Now people tend to gravitate towards people who have opinions, and they jump on those opinions and they follow those particular news characters based on their opinion. And then they formulate their opinion because they believe this person is educated and is similar to me. So I'm going to think and believe like him or her. And I think whether you like that or not, the great majority of news is consumed that way. We like people to tell us how we should think. And I think that that's kind of what you're saying here in a way, is that the people that we're selling to, they kind of want to not only, they want to have that knowledge that they've gathered confirmed, but they also want to make sure that if they're wrong, that they're corrected so that they keep their job. Because the worst thing that could happen is that they spec something, they lose their job.
Well, no, you're 100% correct. And I relate back, by the way, to something you said earlier when you talked about your early days in Extron and have to ask yourself, why'd they buy Extron? And your answer would be relationships, because even back in the day when you were at Extron, there were other signal distribution companies. So relationships count. But the comment you just made is critically important. And because customers, it's like, what you think you're getting is maybe not what you're getting. And you need to have risk abatement. You have to have risk of if I'm a business and I'm going to hire, Gary or Allen Incorporated AV company, I'm going to buy product from you. Yeah. But you know what I really want? I want risk abatement. I want risk avoidance. I want certainty.
I want to keep my job.
I want to keep my job. The ad. Remember the old ad on TV, Gary, the Xerox ad? The guy comes in and I've got this and I've got this. And one guy comes in and says, well, it's almost as good as a Xerox. And the guy sits back and he says, well, damn, I guess I just ought to buy a Xerox, right? Yeah. And so we've got a different role. Our role today is, yes, we're going to continue our toolbox. rAVe is going to continue going to InfoComm, and you're going to continue doing all these wonderful interviews that you do, covering all the major players. It's kind of interesting. You almost don't have to go to InfoComm if you watch all the interviews at rAVe. I know that's coming from me, not you, but we're going to continue that because those are the tools in the toolbox. But what you've got to do is to understand when the tools are going to be used, why the tools are going to be used, and how the tools are going to be used in context with the company and their culture and how they're going to, and it may be different than what you think just from an AV and narrow AV perspective. That's the article that needs to be written. What about what's the company experience? And we as an AV industry need to relate to the company experience.
I agree. And I want to see that written and we'll publish it. I want to close with one thing, because you do have kind of an afterlife already. You're building some of the coolest dollhouses I've ever seen. And I think that you need to get some credit for doing that. The intricacy and the detail in these, we're putting some pictures up right now of the detail of these, is pretty incredible. And I know you're only building them for family members, but why not open a store and sell these?
Time out. Not true. Not true. So the girls were clean. As you know, we lost my wife 3 years ago. And so I'm, 42 years married, so I'm lonesome and I'm kind of in the doldrums and I don't know what to do. And so the girls were cleaning out the garage. My daughters were cleaning out the garage, and they found this old dollhouse. And if you post it, it'll be the big mansion, the 3-foot tall mansion that I built. And it was about half built. And I bought this back in 1995, back in the huge JVC days.
Yeah, we're showing a picture of it right now.
And life takes over, and and you go on with it, right? So the girls found it. So fast forward 30 years.
Now, did you build that?
I built this. So it was half built. So you get the wood and you cut the wood and you sand it and you fit and finish and you do all this sort of thing. You get the design, the plans, if you will, in a quote unquote kit, but you build it. So anyway, I got this thing and I finish it. And Gary, I'm euphoric. And so my day now is I do Braun consulting. And most of my Braun consulting work is industry related and training related and pro
Yeah.
bono work and DSF and Avixa and this sort of thing. So, but you need something other than that. You need a hobby. And so I fell in love with making dollhouses. So my first dollhouse I finished for my daughter, Elizabeth, but my second two, I build the dollhouses and I give them away. I'm not building so that Alan can keep a dollhouse museum. The connection is I have to build the dollhouse so that somebody will absolutely love. Maybe they're an older person who wanted a dollhouse if you were a little girl, or maybe I'm building a dollhouse right now. I'll mention the person's name because I know he's a friend of yours. I'm building a dollhouse for Rich Ventura and his wife, Maureen. Not money. It's my gift to them to give to their little girl, Jordan. Late in life, they had the baby, and she's a gift from heaven. And so I'm doing that. So some of it's for family members, some of it's for industry friends. But the real issue is sharing the love of something I can do at 78 to keep me engaged. And the other thing is something I can do to gift to somebody else that will be an heirloom that this little girl, or in some cases, not so little girl, will have a fond memory of long after Alan Braun's gone. So thank you for remembering that, Gary. Thank you. That was very kind of you.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I'm really impressed, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing that. Well, we're going to keep in touch, obviously, Alan. We've known each other too long not to, and congratulations on convincing your son to come to the industry. That's a hard thing to do because most of us who have kids hate our industry because it took us away from them. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And I appreciate you joining me today. And happy birthday again. Do you want to say how old you are, or do you want to keep that?
Oh no, I'm happy to be 78 years old, years young. You can be whatever you want. So no, I'm happy to still be on the right side of the grass. So thank you for the opportunity. And again, and most of all, thank you for the great suggestions. Stay tuned. I will send you a nice draft. Gary and I are going to do something on the addressing the company experience beyond AV. Maybe that's the title, experiencing the company beyond AV. I'm going to write that down after we get off.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about Braun Consulting, just go to braunconsulting.com. And of course, Alan and Jonathan are doing some great work there. And of course, you'll see Jonathan at ISE and at Infocom. And every once in a while, we see Alan. You come to I see you in the Vegas shows every once in a while.
Every once in a while, but you slow down at 78. You kind of slow down a little bit for trade shows. But I promise that you and I'll get together face to face before I hit the big AV project in the sky.
All right, good. Well, look, thanks for joining me, and everyone, thanks for watching. You can always watch all of our podcasts at ravepubs.com, and appreciate you joining me today. And I'll link everything we talked about here in the description. And Alan, you have a great rest of your birthday and celebrating with all your kids.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Bye-bye.
With